Now, at this point, let's have a more detailed look at some of these basal ganglia nuclei. First, we'll have a look at the striatum. In much of the striatum, the neurons are organized into a patch and matrix structure. The patches are irregularly shaped volumes, about a couple of hundred microns across, that are also called striasomes. The general types of neuron in both patches and matrix are similar, but there are some detailed differences, such as the types of receptors for the neurotransmitter glutamate. There are also different compartments in the matrix, called matrosomes, and these tend to correspond with different, very specific behaviors. On the other hand, damage to the striasomes results in general behavioral disturbances like compulsive behaviors. The nucleus accumbens core has the same patch and matrix structure, but the shell is rather different. It has a very complex pattern of neurotransmitter and receptor distribution. There are pronounced differences in the connectivity of striasomes and matrosomes. The direct and indirect paths to the GPI-SNR originate in the matrosomes. The striasomes project to the SNC, where the dopaminergic neurons are located. The cortical inputs to both striasomes and the matrosomes come from pyramidal neurons in layer 5 of the cortex. But inputs to D1 neurons in the matrosomes come from pyramidals in the upper layer 5, while inputs to D2 neurons come from deeper level 5 pyramidals. And those pyramidals can also project down to the brainstem, from where they can drive, for example, motor movements. Deeper level 5 pyramidals also project to the striasomes. However, although a pyramidal neuron can target both striasomes and matrosomes, the targets tend to be in somewhat different regions of the striatum. So a pyramidal neuron that targets a matrosome tends to target striasomes that are in a somewhat more dorsal part of the striatum, and we'll come back to this difference a little later. The ventral striatum has two major regions, the nucleus accumbens core, which has the patch and matrix structure, and the shell, which has that very complex arrangement of neurotransmitter sensitivities. Although there's strong cortical input to both the core and the shell, the two structures also receive significant input from the amygdala, and the shell gets a lot of input from the hypothalamus and also targets back to the hypothalamus. The overall pattern of connectivity for the nucleus accumbens core is very similar to that for the dorsal basal ganglia, with the corresponding structures connected the same way: the cortical inputs, the parallel paths, the outputs through the thalamus back to the cortex, and the internal dopaminergic feedback loop.